Today, we're going to dive into something that starts super small, like on the level of our DNA, but has this huge, life-changing ripple effect on thousands of families. We're going to get to know a rare genetic condition called Dup15q syndrome.
So it really all boils down to this one question. What can a single, tiny, extra copy of our genetic code really change? Well, as you're about to see, the answer is just about everything. And that's the very heart of what we're talking about today. All right, so to really get a grip on the impact of that extra copy, we have to start with the science. Let's break down what this syndrome is, right down at its genetic core. Okay, so in a nutshell, Dup15q syndrome is a neurodevelopmental disorder. And honestly, the name itself kind of gives you the biggest clue. Dup for duplication, an extra copy, of a small piece of chromosome 15. And what's so fascinating here is the precision. We're not talking about a whole extra chromosome, not at all. We're talking about this very specific little neighborhood on it, the 15q11.2 to 13.1 region. That extra piece of genetic instruction is what disrupts typical development and creates this really unique set of challenges and strengths for every single person. So how rare are we talking? Well, it's estimated to affect about 1 in every 5,000 births. Now, that might sound like a small number, but when you do the math, it means there's a really significant worldwide community of families navigating life with Dup15q every day. Okay, so we've got the science down, but now let's look at how this genetic blueprint actually translates into the day-to-day human experience. Because behind all the numbers and codes, there are real people facing some pretty big daily challenges. You know, the impact of Dup15q is incredibly broad. People often face a whole range of behavioral and developmental hurdles. We're talking about things like difficulties with social communication, hyperactivity, a lot of anxiety, sensory processing issues, even mood disorders. It's so important to remember, though, that it's a huge spectrum and it looks different for everyone. And this brings us to a really, really important connection. A huge number, up to 80% of individuals with Dup15q also meet the clinical criteria for autism spectrum disorder. In fact, Dup15q is one of the most common known chromosomal causes of autism. But this is where the story gets so much more nuanced and, frankly, just beautiful. Because while the clinical diagnosis might point to things like impaired social interaction, many kids with Dup15q have these amazing social strengths. They often have these incredibly responsive social smiles. They direct their facial expressions right at you, and they have this deep, genuine interest in connecting with people. This unique profile really makes you rethink the boundaries of a diagnosis, and it just goes to show why it's so critical to look past the label and see the incredible individual. Now, beyond the developmental challenges, there are also some very serious medical risks to manage. And one of the most significant, and one of the scariest for families, is epilepsy. Think about this. More than half of all people with Dup15q will have at least one seizure. And these often start really early, usually somewhere between 6 months and 9 years old, which just adds another huge layer of complexity for parents and caregivers. And the way it progresses can be so tough. Seizures might start out as something called infantile spasms, but then they can evolve into Lennox-Gastaut syndrome, which is a much more severe and hard-to-treat form of epilepsy. And to make it even harder, these seizures are often resistant to the usual medications, making treatment a constant, urgent battle. But, and this is a really big but, in the face of all these huge challenges, there is this incredible force for strength, for connection, and for hope. And that brings us to the Dup15q Alliance. And this isn't some brand new group. They were founded way back in 1994. So for decades, they have been this absolute rock for the community, growing right alongside the families they serve. And what a community it is. I mean, wow. Today, the Alliance connects and supports over 2,000 families all around the globe. It's just this incredibly powerful network built on shared experiences and people just having each other's backs. And this right here, this is their mission. I think it's worth just taking it in for a second. To give individuals with Dup15q syndrome the means to reach their full potential by advancing research, supporting families, and promoting advocacy. It's all about empowerment, progress, and just unwavering support. Now, that mission isn't just a bunch of nice words on a page. It's about action. Navigating all the medical stuff, the school systems. It takes a village, a huge network. Let me just give you a quick idea. So you might have a family out in Washington connecting with their local epilepsy foundation for specialized support. while another family down in Louisiana is finding these vital resources through their state's Speech-Language Hearing Association.
And maybe a family in Arizona gets that crucial guidance from their state's parent information network. You see, it's this whole web of local, state, and national groups, all working together. So, after hearing all that, it really all leads to the biggest, most important question, right? How can we, all of us, actually help?
Well, the good news is there are some really clear ways to make a difference. You can help support the cutting-edge research that's looking for new treatments. You can support families directly, get involved in community events. You can promote advocacy and just raise awareness, share what you learned today. And of course, you can participate in fundraisers like the Believe Walk, which are the engine that powers this entire mission.
So, I'll leave you with this thought. We started with a single extra copy of a chromosome, and we ended with a global community of thousands. The story of Dup15q is definitely one of challenges, for sure. But it's also a story of incredible resilience, strength, and so much hope. So the real question is, are you ready to be part of the solution?